We're grateful for our panelists today. I will make brief introductions for each of them, and then we will turn the time over to them for their presentations. Finally, we'll be privileged to hear from Dr. Tim Rarick. Dr. Rarick received his PhD in Human Development and Family Studies from Kansas State University in 2011. He currently teaches in the Department of Home and Family at Brigham Young University, Idaho. I was pleased to review the website of the Department of Home and Family Studies there at BYU, Idaho, and read this sentence about, among its mission purpose, to teach principles of the gospel and secular truth, including theories, research, philosophies, and practical skills that help strengthen the home and the family. Dr. Rarick, through his initiative, has helped the university to implement a marriage and family advocacy major. Did I get that name right, Tim? Thank you. The marriage and family advocacy major, where he has, if I'm recalling from our conversation yesterday, was it 1,600 students that online for marriage and family studies? And how many students are participating in your major, Dr. Rarick? Okay, so the number's still coming in, so just launched, but he's been doing a great work there at BYU Idaho with on his own initiative to seek to have an opportunity for students there to be majoring in advocacy for the marriage and the family. So we are pleased to hear from all three of these presenters.
Thank you, Professor Wardle. We'll now hear from our final speaker, Dr. Tim Rarick.
Okay, so I'm going to take I appreciate both Christine and Professor Wardle's words because it sets the foundation pretty much for what I wanted to hit on. A few disclaimers before I jump into this, and that is I'm not going to give every possible answer to the concerns I raise. There's enough books out there written on this and research, and there's great education reformers out there. I don't think I need to, but I'll point you in the right direction. I can give you resources if you need to. But if I don't unpack what's, I think, really undermining moral development in education and some common practices that are rampant, not just in the States, but throughout the world, then I don't think the remedies are going to have much value. So I'm going to be speaking on and I think the two previous speakers, Professor Wardle and Christine, have both described what we should be able to teach in education, the content and even the methods. I'm going to get deeper into the methods of some things that we do, disciplinary practices in education, and how we think we're teaching a lesson, but the lesson of morality is lost because we're too focused on something else. So let me get into what I mean. First, I want to echo what the two previous speakers also said. Urie Bronfenbrenner, the great theorist, researcher in my field, said the family is the most powerful, the most humane, and by far the most economical system known for building competence and character. So I had to put that out there first too, because I don't think it's the educational system to develop this. However, with the family breaking down, divorce rates, and countless other threats to the family and the well-being of children, the educational system does have a role, and I think Professor Wardle made that very clear. And it's happening quite well with Christine's curriculum. So the family should be doing this, but education, what can education do to help build this as well? Well, this is in the system of, I'm not going to get into all this, but in Bronfenbrenner's theory or in his model, he has the person in the middle, and the person has different contexts that they develop in. So there's the family. The things that are closest to them have the greatest impact on the development of that person. The things that are furthest out, such as policy, especially at the international, national level, that would be more in the blue, although that still does trickle down and affect the developing child. But Bronfenbrenner's statement is that the family is the most powerful system and the most effective system for building character. But as you can see, next to the family, you see school or education. So I'm going to explore that a bit more. Okay, so what are morals? Well, here's a few definitions. Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. I think that's pretty straightforward. The degree which something is right and good, the moral goodness or badness of something. So, in this picture, is this student more focused on right and wrong or getting a decent grade? you got to pass this test or your grade's going to drop. So I think it's pretty clear. She's more focused on getting a decent grade. So the morality or the moral of honesty and integrity somewhere was lost on the student. And maybe a stress about I've got to get an A or a B or I've got to pass this has overridden the student's desire to be moral. Let's go to character now. Okay, so what is character? The mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, the unseen motives or reasons behind what we consistently think, say, or do. Okay, so it's as I'm going to say time and time again, it's good to know what's moral, but we also have to have the moral will and the moral skill, which really captures your character. The part of that, so another part of character, the part of us that dictates our behavior, especially when no one is looking. So our character really comes out when I'm on vacation, which I'm not on vacation right now, but I'm here and my wife and children aren't here, and what am I going to do when they're not around? My character is going to determine that. Okay, so another picture here on character. Which question do you feel the aggressive student is asking himself? A, how can I show that I am more powerful? Or B, I wonder how my actions are impacting his emotions and overall self-worth. Yes, A is probably the most likely answer. So, is this student lacking character? Maybe this is a weak moment, but bullying is rampant in schools. And I believe that one of the reasons is a loss of character and morality. So let's talk about that a bit more. So even though the demise of the family or the breakdown of the family is really a connection of the loss of morality, it's also the solution. But education doesn't seem to be doing much better in this regard. Okay, so something I want to say about that is zero-tolerance policies, which require out-of-school suspension or expulsion for certain inappropriate behaviors, have become the go-to disciplinary approach in many schools. But research suggests some downsides. Such punishments may not change students' behavior and are often meted out unfairly. And I would add, those punishments often can change behavior, but it's only temporarily. So it's like a short-term gain, long-term loss. So I'll talk a bit about the research on that. And I realize I'm going fast. I normally pace myself more, but I want to make sure I unpack this as well as I can. So what do the following pictures do you think have to do, and you don't have to shout it out. If this was a class, we would have a discussion, but have to do with morals and character. I was at the United Nations. I bring some students every year. We go to the Commission on the Status of Women and try to promote the families, the fundamental unit of society. Well, while I was on the metro, I saw some signs that I thought really were trying to teach morals. So I took some pictures. So, poles are for your safety, not your latest routine. Hold the pole, not our attention. A subway car is no place for showtime. Okay, so that's trying to teach moral, maybe try to help build character. It's a subway car, not a dining car. Maybe takeout, but please don't eat here. Next one. Offer your seat to an elderly, disabled, or pregnant person. Even better, add a smile. Another, keep the sound down, keep the music, games, and the phone's conversation to yourself. Please, let's keep personal devices personal. If you've noticed, there's the theme here of Captain Me Planet, of I haven't realized there's other people around me, really? So I need to pay attention to them and actually be... To me, this is part of the loss of morality, if we have to rely on the metro system to get us to wake up to the people around us. But I'm glad they're doing it. Okay, so don't take your litter with you. Here's one that's much more serious. Unwanted sexual conduct shouldn't be a part of anyone's commute. And then it gives a disclaimer or something about sexual misconduct. So these messages are teaching morals, but not the moral will and the moral skill or the character needed to go with it. So these messages are good. I don't want to disparage the messages at all. But it tells us something about our society when the metro is trying to teach morals, something right and wrong. Dr. Barry Schwartz is going to give a little breakdown of this.
And all of the items on it are unremarkable.
I'll let him
They're the
tell
things you would expect. Mop the floors, sweep them, empty the trash, restock the cabinets. It may be a little surprising how many things there are, but it's not surprising what they are. But the one thing I want you to notice about them is this. Even though this is a very long list, there isn't a single thing on it that involves other human beings. Not one. The janitor's job could just as well be done in a mortuary as in a hospital. And yet, when some psychologists interviewed hospital janitors to get a sense of what they thought their jobs were like, they encountered Mike, who told them about how he stopped mopping the floor because Mr. Jones was out of his bed, getting a little exercise, trying to build up his strength, walking slowly up and down the hall. And Charlene told them about how she ignored her supervisor's admonition and didn't vacuum the visitors' lounge because there were some family members who were there all day, every day, who at this moment happened to be taking a nap. And then there was Luke, who washed the floor in a comatose young man's room twice because the man's father, who had been keeping a vigil for 6 months, didn't see Luke do it the first time, and his father was angry. And behavior like this from janitors, from technicians, from nurses, and if we're lucky every now and then from doctors, doesn't just make people feel a little better, it actually improves the quality of patient care and enables hospitals to run well. Now, not all janitors are like this, of course, but the ones who are think that these sorts of human interactions involving kindness, care, and empathy are an essential part of the job, and yet their job description contains not one word about other human beings. These janitors have the moral will to do right by other people, and beyond this, they have the moral skill to figure out what doing right means.
Okay, we'll stop it there. I'm going to move forward and talk about how that's fostered. So when we use things in the school system like punishments and bribes, we're trying to, I just put a girl here in the middle. You pretend that she is a student in your school or maybe one of your children. The research has found over and over again that children tend to, this is the consistent way of disciplining them, they tend to ask this question from punishment: what do they want me to do? What happens to me if I do it? And from bribes, what do they want me to do, or what do I get if I do it? Both of them foster self-interest. So instead of fostering empathy and kindness and thinking of other people and doing something not just right, but for the right reasons, which is, it's not enough to just say, well, we want our kids to act in certain ways. And pretty soon they become actors. And what do? They don't have the character to do what's right when people aren't looking because they were acting when people were looking. Because they haven't got it into their heart and developed the moral will to do what was right. So, some of these things that can come from this consistent type of discipline, and we could be teaching the greatest content all day long on morals, but if we're doing it this way, they'll become grade-focused, and they may rebel. They may become compliant, but maybe not in the way that we'd like. They could become indifferent, self-centered, low self-respect, unmotivated, and dishonest. Indeed, the bully who was bullying the guy in the picture I showed you earlier may be struggling with a lot of these things. And then he gets a quick punishment. Nobody wants to listen to what he's thinking, feeling, and deciding because all we care about the behavior. And we don't know how to work with them. We just only know how to do things to them. So if we want to develop morality, we need to have a working with approach, not a doing to. This is not a fancy way of saying letting kids do whatever they want. Sometimes people have this either or. It's either you are punitive or you're permissive, and that's all you can do. I think we have a bigger toolbox that we need to tap into when we're trying to teach morality. Here's another way of looking at it: teaching and guidance and secure and trusting relationships between teacher and student and between administrator and student. What kind of person do I want to become? We want the students to be asking that question rather than what happens to me if I don't do it. And then another question we'd like them to ask: is this right? And how will my choices impact others around them? Again, the empathy, the kindness. So we want them to develop a love for learning, be helpful, friendly. I was going to say the Scout motto: courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, truthful, brave, clean, reverent. Okay, so hardworking, helpful, empathic, respect for self and others, and kind, responsible, honest. This is a video of my daughter. I filmed her. She's telling me, because for the sake of time, I'll skip it. Although I'm going to just show you so you can see how cute she is. Okay, so wait.
Wait, help me
She's telling me
understand
about
this.
why she wants to hurry and read a
Sorry.
book.
So every
and get it over
pink
with.
thing means what?
I read. Those
And
blank, that means I didn't.
The blank means what?
I didn't read. So I forgot to read today. So let's go find a book.
Whoa. Well, hold on. Before we get the book, I need you to explain one more thing. You said you enjoy reading.
I
Do you? But what do you want even more than reading, did you just tell me?
the pizza ticket.
So if you get all the way to here
Yes, I get a pizza ticket.
from Pizza Pie Cafe,
I,
or to
I
some...
forgot.
But it's you get pizza.
Yeah. She said it was blah 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 pizza ticket.
So what you just tried to do...
I'll stop it there. Unfortunately, the research has bared this out over and over again. The more you reward kids for doing something, the more they tend to lose interest in whatever they had to do to get the reward. Blah, 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 pizza ticket. Morals, blah, 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 whatever you want me to do. So we have to be careful. Now, you may be thinking, but Tim, I know people who were rewarded into doing things, and now they have a love for it. But let's focus on the rule, not the exception, because some people, as we know, too much of our law has been focused on the exception rather than the rule. Okay? So let me give you another story. This happened at one of my children's schools several years ago. It's not the school they currently attend, so I can share this. It's Christmas season, and your child's school is trying to help raise money for families in need. The principal and faculty get together to discuss how they can raise both money and awareness for those in need while teaching their students it is better to give than to receive. All at the meeting agree that, in addition to their regular curriculum, the children should learn to give and serve others less fortunate. It is decided that setting a specific goal or a dollar amount would give the children and teachers something to shoot for. If the children raise enough money to reach the goal, dollar amount, they would be able to begin their Christmas break a half day early. If they don't reach the goal, then children will be in school the entire last day of school before the break originally planned. They thought this was a good idea. When I share this in my parenting class, my students, after we've gone over the research, they go, what were they thinking? And I said, well, what are the students learning? School is a punishment, so you have to get out of it for a reward, or learning as a punishment. Another one is, it is not better to give. It's better to just try to get the dollar amount, and if you didn't achieve it, we really don't care about these needy families. So I'm not getting into experiencing giving to them. In fact, this is what it might look like for somebody to actually give versus, hey, I got out of school early, yay, maybe some people were helped. That to me is not a moral way of doing things, even though it is well-intentioned. Let me skip ahead. This is a quote from Alfie Kohn, who's an education reformer. Rewards and punishments are instruments for controlling people, and the real problem is the belief that teachers should be in control of the classroom and that the principal objective, and sometimes the objective of the principal, is just to get students to comply. I won't go into this story. I'll just say that I have a student in my parenting class who said, hey, Brother Rarick, my high school, there's a club zero, or it's called the Zero Club. And if you have a zero in any class, you can't go to, you have to be part of the Zero Club. And you have to go to kind of like this detention to study. You don't get any guidance. You don't get any understanding. You just go there and then until you get your zero gone. These students don't learn to love learning. Nobody asks them, is there a divorce going on at home? Or are you being abused? Is there something? Let's try to strengthen the relationship between teacher and student. It just helps them develop an identity that I'm in Club Zero. So I'm going to get here. Yeah, I know, it's really dramatic, I'm sorry. Anyhow, this is some quotes about the research about punishment, but I'm going to skip ahead on that and let me give you a solution because I'm out of time. What do we do instead? How do we develop it? Well, one columnist says that policeman laws can never replace customs, traditions, and moral values as a means for regulating human behavior. So we can't just mandate it from the law. Okay, so this is from the parenting pyramid. If I was going to adapt this for a teacher-student relationship, the teacher, as best as we can, has to believe in being honest and responsible, and their own personal way of being has to reflect that, so they model it for the students in their classroom. We're going to skip the husband-wife relationship because that doesn't apply here. But the teacher-child relationship, the children are going to ask again and again, or say again and again, whether or not they say it, they're feeling, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. Children will start to thrive when they feel empowered, somebody wants to help them, rather than just push them off to the side until you start acting the way I want. Correction should be the last thing, and our correction is only effective as our teaching, and our teaching is only effective and as strong as our relationship with our students. This is a basic model that really works. The author of this said, control will sometimes coerce compliance from a child, but it will never win allegiance and commitment to the teacher's professed values, and never foster child's growth and personal responsibility. So, care about them. Show them how a moral person lives. Let them practice in the ways that both the previous speakers talked about. Let them practice moral dilemmas and why it's important to understand about and care about other people. Consequences should be, what are the consequences of my actions to other people, not just to myself? And finally, we should have these we've got two primary questions we can come, schools of thought. When a student does something wrong, we could either option one, he has done something bad, now something bad must be done to him, or option two, we have a problem here, how are we going to solve it? I know this works because I see it in my classrooms, I see it with my children, and loads of research bears this out. And as soon as we can start to create a cultural shift, and it's going to have to happen at all different levels, a shift in how we implement morals and character, education will fall flat to develop it, and we'll just focus on compliance and drive the issues deeper under the surface. Thank you.